This training is created as an introduction to communication and why it's important to have effective communication at TaskEasy. In order to have effective communication, you have to have at least one sender and one receiver in the message. The sender is the person who gives the information, and the receiver is the person getting the information. It's impossible to be effective in communication if there is no sender or receiver. Really, think about that. If two people are talking at the same time, no one is listening to what is going on. By the end of this lesson, you should be able to demonstrate the proper communication process when on the phone with our customers and identify when it's appropriate to be the sender or the receiver in the conversation. When you're speaking to someone, whether it's professional or in your private life, you should have a natural flow. When you're speaking to your friend or a family member, you typically don't have a sheet of paper with a checklist of items of what you need to say in order to have the perfect conversation. You just speak to them and you know when to stop and listen. You ask questions when you're confused and even tell them bye when you know the conversation is over. As a representative of TaskEasy, you must be effective and efficient communicator to ensure a proper customer service experience. If a customer is not comfortable with an agent's tone or feels like they're not being heard, the customer's experience could be at risk, which means they can go on websites and give negative reviews, which could look bad for the TaskEasy brand. Callers can usually tell when you aren't listening, so be sure you're not working on something else when you should be helping that person on the phone. So, how can you make your customer's interaction go from meh to great? It helps to understand the top 5 communication skills so that you can add it to your natural flow of communication. Let's discuss each of these one by one. We all know how important first impressions are, but not everyone knows there's only a 7-second window to make a good first impression upon meeting someone for the first time. This means that your greeting is essential for creating a positive first impression with the customer. So, you should always answer the calls with a cheerful greeting. Be sure you are not eating or drinking. Be authentic with the customer and be relaxed at the start of every new conversation. Let's talk about listening actively. It's important that you listen more than you speak. Don't assume you already know the customer's question just because you've heard it before. This can lead to confusion and frustration. Listen to what the customer has to say without interruption, even if you think you know the answer. It's not enough to hear what the customer is saying, but listen to their words, their meaning, and their tone of voice. Ask relevant questions to understand what the customer's issue is from their perspective, not just yours, before providing a solution or jumping to conclusions. Another technique that works well in agent customer interactions is mirroring. Mirroring is matching a customer's tone or language to help them feel comfortable and able to focus without distraction. Things that you can try. Speak at the same speed as the customer. Speak at the same volume as the customer. Address the customer's comments using the same language that they used. Now, there is an exception to this. Mirroring does not mean you match when a customer is angry or negative. Typically, you are matching their positivity. Be empathetic. It's important that you practice kindness and empathy with each customer's interaction. Try to put yourself in the customer's shoes In order to have a positive influence on the customer's experience, remember that empathy fails when you're not authentic. When a customer sees consistency amongst the agents, trust follows, which brings loyal and happy customers. We'll put this into practice in a later module. You have to have a good attitude. When you're speaking to someone on the phone, it's up to you to make sure that you have the proper tone of interest. Not only does what you say matter, but how you say it makes a difference. If you sound bored, angry, or disinterested, the caller may focus on how you said the message and not what you said. So you always want to sound helpful and pleasant. Always maintain a professional demeanor regardless of the attitude of the caller. You've got this. Okay, let's recap. First off, keep in mind that effective communication is not a checklist. You have to have a natural conversation. And you won't have that if you sit there and think, was I empathetic? Did I have a nice attitude? Because as you're thinking about that, you're not really listening to the person on the phone. Remember, there are times that you will not be the one speaking. You're going to have to listen and take note so that you can respond to the caller. You have to have a reaction based on what's going on the call. So just be cool and natural on your calls. It's just a conversation. You are here to give a great experience. So give that person that experience and handle the calls as they're supposed to be. Okay, that brings us to the end of effective communication. Be sure to review the Put It into Action section to show your understanding of this topic. If you have any questions, you can reach out to the L&D department and we will be happy to help.